She constantly compared me to her more successful ex, so I finally told her to go back to him. She did, and he immediately put her in a prenup. Now she's texting me that I was right. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. The memory hits me sometimes when I least expect it. It's not a big moment, just a fragment. Me, trying to cook pancakes on a Sunday morning and burning the first one. Sarah, leaning against the counter, not with annoyance, but with a laugh that felt like sunshine. She'd stolen a piece of bacon and popped it in her mouth, her eyes crinkling. My little chef, she'd teased, and I'd felt like I'd conquered the world. That was 3 years ago. It's funny how the memory of a feeling can become a weapon. Now, the weapons are her words. It was a Tuesday. I'd gotten home early, wanting to surprise her by making her favorite pasta carbonara. The apartment was filled with the smell of garlic and pancetta. Sarah was on the couch, scrolling through her phone, her brow furrowed in that way it always was when she was deep in the digital world. Mark just booked a 2-week vacation to Bali for his new girlfriend, she said, not looking up. Her voice was flat, a statement of fact that carried a heavy, unspoken judgment. I kept stirring the egg and cheese mixture, trying to keep my voice light. Must be nice. Sounds crowded, though. He always knew how to treat a woman, she continued, as if I hadn't spoken. Experiences. He was all about creating memorable experiences. I took a slow breath. Don't take the bait. It's just her scrolling. It doesn't mean anything. Well, this pasta carbonara is pretty memorable, if I do say so myself. Your Nana's recipe. She finally looked up from her phone, but her eyes weren't on me. They were somewhere else, somewhere better. Did you see his LinkedIn update? Made VP at 35. 35, Alex. She shook her head, a sad, almost pitying look on her face. I just wonder sometimes if you have that same drive. That killer instinct. The words, killer instinct, landed like a physical blow. I was a senior project manager at a solid tech firm. I made good money, had great job security. But I wasn't a VP. I wasn't Mark. It was never a direct attack, I thought, turning back to the stove so she wouldn't see the hurt on my face. It was 1,000 paper cuts, and I was bleeding out slowly. Mark did this. Mark would never that. Mark was a ghost in our relationship, and he was winning. The comparisons had started subtly a year into our relationship. A comment about how Mark drove a certain car. A remark about how he'd taken a risk on a startup that paid off. At first, I'd taken it as a challenge. I'd work harder, try to be more romantic, try to be more. But the goalposts kept moving. I was always competing against a phantom. I saved for 3 months. Our 4-year anniversary was coming up, and I was determined to prove I could create a memorable experience. I booked a table at Le Jardin, a place so fancy the menu didn't have prices. I wore my one good suit. Sarah wore a little black dress and looked stunning, but her smile seemed tight, practiced. We were halfway through our appetizers, seared scallops that cost more than my weekly grocery bill, when she put her fork down. Mark took his fiancée to Qley last week, she said, pushing a piece of frisee around her plate. He posted about it. The tasting menu was 17 courses. This place is cute, though. Something inside me, something that had been bending for years, finally snapped. It wasn't a loud break. It was a quiet, final click. I put my own fork down, the silverware clinking softly against the fine china. The ambient chatter of the restaurant seemed to fade away. Sarah, I said, my voice dangerously calm. Are you here with me? Or are you here with the ghost of Mark? Her eyes flickered up to mine, surprised, then hardened. Don't be dramatic, Alex. I'm just being realistic. I'm looking at my life. At our life. She gestured around, not at the nice restaurant, but at the invisible confines of our shared existence. It's comfortable. It's safe. She leaned forward, her voice dropping, but losing none of its cutting edge. With Mark, everything was an adventure. He had this energy, this power. He was a king, and he made you feel like a queen. With you. She let the sentence hang in the air, her eyes sweeping over me, from my suit to my face, dismissing everything I was. With you, it's just safe. I think I'm tired of safe. I think I need a king. There it was. The final, brutal comparison. I wasn't just inadequate, I was a placeholder. The stable, boring prince consort while she waited for the throne to become available. I looked at her. I really looked at her. The woman I'd dreamed of a future with. The woman whose laughter I'd once thought was my favorite sound. And all I felt was a profound, bone-deep exhaustion. I was done. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I simply placed my napkin on the table, the white linen a flag of surrender. Then you should go find him, I said, my voice even and clear. Honestly, you should. I'm not going to be someone's consolation prize anymore. I caught the waiter's eye, signaled for the check, and paid it in cash, the money I'd so carefully saved. I stood up, my chair scraping softly against the floor. Alex, she started, her voice a mix of shock and indignation. I didn't respond. I turned and walked out of the restaurant, leaving her sitting there at the table for two. I didn't look back. The cool night air hit my face, and for the first time in a long time, it didn't feel like a reprieve. It felt like a beginning. The love didn't vanish. It was just immediately replaced by a clarity so sharp it was almost painful. I was done. The first week was a blur of silence and strange, hollow spaces. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I moved through my apartment like a ghost, the absence of her perfume and the constant, low-grade criticism feeling louder than any argument. The quiet wasn't empty. It was full of everything I'd been ignoring. It was deafening at first, I thought, standing in the middle of the living room on Saturday morning, listening to nothing. Then, slowly, it became peaceful. My first act was surgical. I opened my phone and blocked her number. I went through every app, Instagram, Facebook, even LinkedIn, and blocked her there, too. I didn't defriend, I blocked. I needed to build a wall, not just close a gate. I deleted the photos from my camera roll, not in a furious purge, but with a methodical, quiet finality. Each swipe was a brick laid in my new foundation. I called my buddy, Mike, a guy I'd been neglecting because Sarah found his love for bad action movies unrefined. Hey man, I said when he picked up. You free tonight? Alex? Yeah, of course. Everything okay? Sarah and I are done. I'll tell you about it. Just need to get out. There was a pause. I'll get the beers. Come over. That night, surrounded by the comforting chaos of Mike's man cave and the glorious absurdity of a commando marathon, I felt a knot in my chest begin to loosen. I was rebuilding a house she had never been allowed to visit, my own sense of self-worth. The next Monday, I went back to work, but with a different focus. Before, my career was a means to an end, to provide, to be stable. Now, I looked at my projects not as stepping stones to some Mark-like VP title, but as puzzles I genuinely enjoyed solving. I started going to the gym not to build a body that would impress her, but because the physical exhaustion felt cleansing. I dug my old acoustic guitar out of the closet and remembered how to play a few chords. The calluses on my fingers were a satisfying, real pain. A month in, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Jess, a mutual friend who had always been the most balanced of Sarah's circle. Jess, hey, just heard about you and Sarah. I'm so sorry. She's already flaunting Mark all over Instagram. It's gross. She says he's so much more serious than you were. Are you okay? I stared at the message. The old me would have felt a hot spike of jealousy and inadequacy. The new me felt nothing. A distant, academic curiosity. So it happened fast. My thumbs hovered over the keyboard. The automatic response, the polite programming, was to type, "I'm sorry to hear that." But I wasn't. I wasn't sorry at all. I deleted the words. Instead, I wrote, "I'm doing great, Jess. Thanks for checking in. Hope you're well." I didn't ask for details. I didn't take the bait. I put the phone down and went back to tuning my guitar. The message was a ripple from a ship that had already sailed from my harbor. The real tsunami came 2 months later. I was meal prepping for the week, a new habit I'd come to enjoy, when my phone rang. The screen showed Qley, Sarah's sister, the family enforcer. I almost didn't answer, but a morbid sense of curiosity won out. "Alex, it's Qley." Her voice was sharp, accusatory, as if I'd caused the problem by existing. "I know who it is, Qley. Look, I know Sarah hurt you, but you need to talk to her. This isn't you. This silent treatment is childish." I leaned against the kitchen counter, the cool granite steadying me. "What isn't me, Qley?" She let out an exasperated sigh. "This whole Mark situation. It's not what she thought. He's intense." I remained silent, letting her fill the void. He made her sign this insane prenup, she blurted out, her voice dripping with disgust. She gets nothing if they divorce. Nothing. Not a dime. It's so controlling. She's miserable. She says he watches every dollar she spends. You wouldn't have done that. I felt it then. Not sympathy for Sarah's misery, but a cold, hard sense of validation. The king wasn't just building a castle. He was putting the queen in a dungeon with a financial lock. The killer instinct she'd so admired was being used to protect his kingdom from her. Qley, I said, my voice flat and final. That sounds like a problem between Sarah and her fiancé. It has nothing to do with me. But Alex, I ended the call. No drama. No goodbye. Just silence. I looked down at the chopped vegetables on the cutting board, the colors vibrant and full of life. A prenup, the ultimate symbol of Mark's success, protecting his assets. The king was fortifying his castle, and the queen was just a visitor with a temporary pass. I didn't feel joy or schadenfreude. I felt nothing. And in that nothingness, I found a profound and unshakable peace. The lesson was complete. The test was over. And I had passed. The first text came through on a random Thursday from a number I didn't recognize. But I knew. Of course I knew. Unknown number. Alex, I saw a photo of us at the beach today. The one from Cape Cod. You were so sunburned. I miss that. I miss us. I was in the middle of a set at the gym, the barbell heavy on my shoulders. I read the words, my heart rate barely flickering. The memory was there, the sting of the sunburn, the taste of salt, her laughing as she applied aloe vera to my back. But it was like watching a movie about someone else's life. Her words were like rain on a window pane. I could see them, but I couldn't feel them. I finished my set, re-racked the weight, and blocked the number. A week later, another new number. This one arrived as I was finalizing the plans for a solo hiking trip to Colorado, a trip born from my own interests, not from a need to compete with anyone's Instagram feed. Unknown number. You were right. About everything. This prenup is humiliating. He's not who I thought he was. He's cold, Alex. He doesn't listen. He just manages me. I felt a twinge, but it wasn't sympathy. It was the faint echo of the validation I'd felt talking to Qley. She was finally seeing the man I'd always known was behind the title and the vacation photos. I didn't reply. I simply tapped block. The action was becoming routine. The third message came a few days after that, its tone shifting from wistful to demanding. It buzzed my phone as I was laughing with Mike over pizza, telling him about my upcoming trip. Unknown number. Are you seriously just ignoring me? After everything we had, I'm suffering here. The least you could do is answer. Be a man and talk to me. There it was. The true colors, bleeding through the self-pity. The anger of someone who could no longer control the narrative, or me. I showed the screen to Mike. He whistled low. Damn, dude. The audacity. I nodded, a small, wry smile on my face. Yeah. I blocked that number, too. It was the last one she tried. A year. It felt like a lifetime, and also just a blink. The guy who had walked out of that restaurant was a stranger to me now. I'd taken the trip to Colorado. I'd gotten a promotion, not because I was driven by a killer instinct, but because I was genuinely good at my job and finally found joy in it. My life was full of my friends, my hobbies, my peace. I was in a coffee shop downtown, a place with great light and fast Wi-Fi that had become my unofficial Saturday office. I was finalizing the details for a photography workshop I was taking, another new interest, when I felt a presence hovering at my table. I looked up. It was Sarah. She looked thin, not in a healthy way, but in a worn-down, stretched-too-tight way. Her hair was the same. Her clothes were expensive, but her eyes held a frantic, tired energy I'd never seen before. The confidence, the dismissive smugness, was gone, replaced by a raw desperation. Alex. She breathed, her voice shaky. My God, you look good. And I did. I was relaxed, tanned from my hikes, wearing a well-fitting sweater. I felt good. Sarah. Hi, I said. My voice was polite, neutral, the way you'd address a cashier you'd never see again. She shifted her weight, her hands fluttering nervously. I've been trying to reach you. I left Mark. It was all a huge mistake. Her words came out in a rushed torrent. You were right. You were always right. I said nothing. I just waited, my hands resting on the closed lid of my laptop. I offered no comfort, No invitation to continue. Her eyes searched my face, desperate for a crack in my calm. Say something, please. We had something real, didn't we? Before I'd messed it all up. We can get that back. I took a slow, measured breath. This was it. The final door that needed to be closed, firmly and forever. Sarah. I began, my tone firm but devoid of malice. It was the tone of a philosopher stating a simple, irrefutable truth. I'm not going to say I told you so. That would imply I've been thinking about it. Or about you. I let the words hang in the air, watching them land. I haven't. She flinched as if I'd slapped her. Don't say that. You don't mean that. I do. I leaned back in my chair, the picture of calm. You taught me the most valuable lesson of my life, that I should never settle for being someone's second choice. So I didn't. I chose myself. I gestured slightly, a small motion that encompassed my laptop, my relaxed posture, the entire peaceful reality of my new life. And because of that, I'm happier than I've ever been. For that, I suppose I should thank you. At that exact moment, a woman named Clara walked in. We'd met in a rock climbing gym a few months back. It was easy, uncomplicated. She was a graphic designer with a wicked sense of humor and zero tolerance for drama. She saw me, smiled a bright, genuine smile, and came over. Hey you, she said, giving my shoulder a friendly squeeze. Ready to go check out that gallery? I smiled back, a real, easy smile I didn't have to force. Yeah, just about. Clara's eyes flickered to Sarah, then back to me, a question in them. I gave a slight, almost imperceptible shake of my head. It's nothing. She understood immediately. Sarah was watching, her face a mask of shattered understanding. She saw Clara's easy touch, my unforced smile, the entire, unassailable fortress of a life that had moved on without her. I stood up, sliding my laptop into my bag. I turned back to Sarah one last time. She was just a person standing in a coffee shop now. A lesson I had already learned. I hope you find what you're looking for, Sarah, I said, my voice calm and definitive. But my part in your story is over. I didn't look back. I walked out with Clara, the bell on the coffee shop door jingling behind us. The sun was warm on my face. I didn't feel the ghost of her, or the ghost of Mark, or the ghost of my own insecurity. They had all vanished, leaving nothing but light and space. She wasn't a villain. She was a lesson, and I had passed with flying colors. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.